Hey guys, so I wanted to give you my first ever YouTube video. Here's hoping it'll be good. And these are my thoughts on Goku as a family man and as a father, and how he might not be as bad as people make him out to be. So yeah, to start off, people say Goku is a bad father because he abandoned his family at the start of Z. When Raditz showed up and all that, he trained with King Kai, and he wasn't there for his family and all that. Um, yeah, the whole thing about him, being killed by Raditz, that would be a logical argument, except for one thing. He had no idea what would happen. Like, none at all. He had no idea ever Raditz would arrive. No idea that, he'd have to team up with Piccolo, of all people, to save his own son. Which he did quite effectively, I might add. He had no idea that he was a Saiyan, and he had no idea that he would die. He did not plan on that. He didn't even want... He didn't want to leave his family. He had to protect the Earth. I mean, come on. How can you guys tell me that him leaving his... Not leaving his family, him dying at the start of Z would count as him legitimately leaving his family? I mean, of course, he enjoys the training, because that's just in his Saiyan blood, but come on. Oh, and people always forget. He was living a peaceful life with Chi-Chi and Gohan before this. For 4 years he was spending a lot of time with him, and he didn't even spend any time with Roshi and Krillin, who was like his best friend. He spent so much time with his family that, in training, obviously. He spent so much time with his family and with training that he didn't even spend time with Krillin for like 4 years. I mean, now granted, okay, I will say that does make him a bad friend, but father, husband, definitely not. So, moving on. People say that he's a bad father for letting Gohan go to Namek alone. Well, not alone, actually. He had Krillin and Bulma with him, but yeah, people say that makes him a bad father for letting Gohan go to Namek, considering Frieza and Vegeta and all that. Well, first of all, I mean, Namek was a peaceful planet, right? Goku had no idea that Frieza would be there, let alone Vegeta. Or even Vegeta, right? So, I don't see how it makes him a bad father if he genuinely thought, like, they were just gonna go there, simply bring back the Dragon Balls, resurrect Piccolo, resurrect the others, and that would be the end of it, right? He had no idea that it would be a lot more complicated than that. He just thought that was gonna be the end of it. Yep. That's all that he thought would go down, but then he heard about Frieza and Vegeta, and many people forget this. After he learns about Frieza and Vegeta, he makes it his top priority to go to Namek so that he can protect his family again, so that he can make sure Gohan and the others are alright. And he does. He does make sure Gohan is alright when he, totally thrashes Raccoon. Which is like the third time he saves Gohan. He saves him against Raccoon, he saves him against Nappa on the Nimbus Cloud, and he saves him against Raditz, so that's like the third time he saves Gohan. Yeah. And, so yeah. Also, I mean, like, he was hospitalized when Gohan was going to Namek, so he couldn't have done anything anyway until Yajirobe gave him the Senzu Beans, and then, as I said, he makes it his top priority to leave for Namek. So, yeah. People also say, people also, to a lesser extent, some say that he's a bad father for letting Gohan train in the Androids arc instead of studying. He let his son miss out on a fuck ton of school, right? That's what people say, right? But I don't know. I mean, between missing out on school and not saving the world, I don't know about you guys, but the Earth's safety, to me, I would kind of put on a higher priority than schoolwork. That's just my opinion. I mean, hey, I'm no expert on this whole thing, so, yeah. Anyway. So, moving on. There's also the Cell Arc incidents. There are 2 incidents from the Cell Arc where people claim he's a bad father. One where he lets Gohan fight Cell, and 2 where he leaves Earth for 7 years to train with Pikkon and the others, and King Kai, right? To that I would say, first of all, him letting Gohan fight Cell I mean, Gohan wound up killing Cell anyway, with help from Piccolo, Tien, Vegeta, and most importantly, Goku. Okay, remember Father Son Kamehameha? Goku was definitely there for Gohan in the Cell games. Okay, so he was there. He did make it up to Gohan that he didn't save him during while Cell was completely thrashing him. Right now, as it was stated in a different video, in um in a different video, people say that Goku was a bad father for not for not taking into account Gohan's pacifistic nature. And to that I would say you're right, that he is a flawed father, and the fact that he didn't take into account Gohan's pacifistic nature, yeah, that does show that he has issues as a father. Piccolo calls him out on this, right? And so Piccolo calls him out on this, and Goku has this, oh my god, what have I done moment, right? And he volunteers to help Gohan fight Cell, which he does. And again, Father Son Kamehameha, he does help Gohan fight Cell. Without Goku, Gohan would never be able to, fight Cell. So yeah, he did. Goku was there for Gohan. I firmly believe he was there for Gohan. No one can convince me otherwise. And what else is there? Oh yeah. So, on to the subject of him leaving for 7 years. The reason he does that isn't out of a selfish desire. Although you could argue that yes, he was excited at the prospect to train. I have no doubt that he enjoyed training in the other world tournament. But come on, I mean, the reason he leaves Earth is because he's become aware of the fact that a lot of the threats that arrive to Earth are because of him. And he's right. Piccolo, the Saiyans, starting with Raditz, Frieza, Mecha Frieza, Cell, Dr. Gero, the androids, they all came for him. They all came for him. Earth was a threat because of him. He was indirectly a threat to the Earth, which is kind of, maybe not the best way for me to word it, but he was indirectly a threat to the Earth. And he figured out with him gone, everything would be peaceful. He didn't want to leave his family. I'm sure he didn't. I mean, people say he was cheerful. I mean, yeah, the whole thing about him being all cheerful about leaving for 7 years, yeah, that did throw me off a little bit, but then I was reminded, like, this sort of harkens back to how Toriyama doesn't want to make things too emotional in his series. So to that I would say that, it's just sort of, Toriyama just not being a very good emotional author when it comes to, Dragon Ball Z and all his series, really. I mean, yeah, so there was him, there was the 2 Cell games incident. Now what else is there? Oh, Yardrat. I forgot to mention Yardrat. Yardrat was a case of him being selfish. That is true. That was not a good move as his father at all. However, people say that Goku intentionally left for Yardrat just so he could abandon his family, just so that he wouldn't just so that he wouldn't have to deal with, Chi-Chi and Gohan. That's not true. Okay. Now people say that if Goku was able to learn a Kamehameha within a matter of seconds, obviously the instant transmission shouldn't be that big of a deal. To that I would say that the Kamehameha is only a very difficult technique to learn by human standards, not by Saiyan standards. I mean, even Raditz, wasn't fazed by it, really, so obviously a Saiyan can, learn a Kamehameha just like that, It makes sense for a pure-blooded Saiyan to not have any trouble with a Kamehameha at all. Instant transmission, however, now that's on a whole different league of its own. I mean, relocating your ki effortlessly like that takes some training, okay? I think that I'm surprised it lasted only a year. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of cool that Goku only learned it within a year. That was kind of cool, though, actually. So he did leave for Yardrat to train. Again, not to intentionally hurt his family, but because he was just being selfish, because he wanted to train, and because he didn't take into account his family's needs. He was being naive, yes, but not cruel. Not intentionally cruel. One more thing. The whole thing about Oob. Now, people say that, him leaving with Oob was selfish. Yes, I will admit that. I mean, I personally don't consider the end of Dragon Ball Z canon at all. It just never happened to me. To me, like the whole series just ended. You know, I mean, Battle of Gods to me was just where the plot ended. So, but obviously that's not going to be a good enough answer for all of you. So, but the whole thing about him leaving with Oob, I mean, Gohan and Goten were grown up at this point. They weren't dependent on their father as much as they were 10, 15 years ago. They weren't. They were doing just fine. Gohan had a high-paying job. Damn, ball allergies. Gohan had a high-paying job, more than enough to support Chi-Chi, I'm sure. Mr. Satan was more than willing to support Chi-Chi as well. And Goten, too, if he ever had any financial difficulties, I'm sure Mr. Satan and Gohan would be more than willing to help him out. Pan, now, it does make him a bad grandfather, but I don't think being a grandfather is really as important as a parent, because, it just isn't really, it isn't as profound as the bond that a parent and his or her child has, that isn't really, as important to me. Now, bad husband, yes, I will be the first to admit that him leaving Chi-Chi was a dick move. It was him being selfish again, which is why I kind of consider it to be non-canon anyway, because, I mean, him just leaving with Oob like that. I have some issues with that ending, honestly, I just, again, never happened to me. Just like all of GT, never happened. But I have my own headcanon for how it ended after Battle of Gods. But again, I hope I explained Oob well enough. I hope I explained my stance on how Goku is as a father good enough to you guys. I know I tend to stutter a lot in this video. I tend to make pauses and stuff like that. Sorry, my speech isn't exactly the best, which is why I haven't uploaded since like forever, literally. I sincerely hope that I made my points clear. Enough for you guys to understand why I don't think Goku is a bad father. I think he's a good father, for the most part. At least average father, at least okay. But at most, definitely a good father. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Ciao.